Because E3 schedules are capricious and fleeting, Dead or Alive 5 is just going to have to wait till the next slot, and we've bumped up Aliens Colonial Marines because we've got Randy Pitchford here back on the stage to talk about it. Randy, welcome back.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Excellent. We had some fun with Borderlands 2 yesterday, but today, totally different kind of game. Borderlands 2 running around, grabbing loot, over-the-top gunplay. Aliens Colonial Marines.
You're just getting killed. You're getting torn apart by the xenomorphs. It's horrible.
Which is what I think of every time I think Colonial Marines. Okay, so yeah, how have the Colonial Marines done in the Aliens movies? Oh, they're always killed all the time. So are you sending us to die here? Is that what you guys are doing?
They get to take a lot of the Xenos with them, though.
And that's where the gameplay's at. And
that's right.
So that's what we're going to be doing. Now, you have talked at length about where this falls in the Aliens, sort of trilogy movies. Give folks who haven't heard it where it's at.
That's probably the most exciting thing for us. It's why we got involved. Is there's always been this unscratched itch for us ever since we saw James Cameron's take his sequel to Ridley Scott's seminal film. The idea that the universe is much larger, that there's these things called Colonial Marines, and they have a purpose and a mission in this universe, and that the stakes are raised. And the itch that's never been scratched is to kind of play with that expanded universe. I want to become a Colonial Marine, right? And I want to deal with that stake-raising situation. Right?
I want to feel that horrible terror when I realize what I'm up against.
Well, these guys are badasses. They've got some of the coolest gear. I mean, all of us, so many of us creators, were clearly inspired by what happened there, and we've all been stealing from it. I've been stealing from it my entire career, right? I mean, if you think about the impact that this visual design had and the concepts behind what the Colonial Marines are and how that's affected science fiction, how that's affected game design and gameplay in our industry, it's really exciting to finally be able to work in the actual canon. And so the fact that 20th Century Fox trusted us to make a sequel to this incredible franchise as a video game.
Pretty good feeling.
The sequel to the movies is a video game. Like, how cool is that?
So it's right after Aliens.
Yeah.
Well,
it's actually about 14 weeks after the events in Alien 3.
Oh, after the events in Alien 3. Okay.
The trilogy, we're treating it as a sequence with the first three movies. So in sequence with that, this is the next story.
Okay, so you've shown gameplay that's been going onto the Sulaco up onto the ship, but now we're planet side.
Yes, in fact, I think this is actually multiplayer footage. That's the derelict. Back in the distance, there was the derelict craft where the eggs were in the original Alien film.
Yep.
The derelict craft that's in Prometheus.
The space jockey still waiting in
as you can tell, there's a whole camp set up here. Weyland-Yutani wants the species, right? And after Ripley denied them when she martyred herself on the prison planet, well, the next thing they did was notice the Sulaco's in orbit. They boarded it. They found out where it came from. They turned that boat around, and they went back to LV-426.
By golly, we're going to get those xenomorphs for our weapons labs.
That's right. And that's the conflict, right? So now you have a situation where the Weyland-Yutani interests have now diverged from what's best for mankind for what the military would do. The military's in a mode now, we just need to destroy these things, because now we know that they cannot coexist with people. In order for a new alien to be born, it has to plant an embryo inside of a person
and destroy that person
in order to make a new one. So the military wants to destroy them. Weyland-Yutani wants to collect them and turn.
So the military's gotten Ripley's message. They're like, all right, that lady was onto something.
You know they were on the same team from Aliens, right? Even Hicks says, I say we take off and nuke the place from orbit, Let's not take any chances.
And that's the question I'm curious about. That Marine bravado, that swagger, are you guys putting some one-liners of your own in here?
It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun with fan service. We want to reference the things that we remember if we're fans of the films, but we don't depend upon it. There's this great moment when you first enter the hangar, where in the hangar of the Sulaco, where Ripley battled the alien queen, and you see the bottom half of a ripped apart synthetic.
Yep,
and
those iconic white organs.
The milky goo coming out, and you realize, if you've seen the movies, you go, holy shit, those are Bishop's legs.
That's the other part.
That's where the queen ripped Bishop in half. Those are his legs. If you haven't seen the film, the character, the player character says, like, hey, I got the bottom half of an unidentified synthetic here, and he's talking over the mic, and the sergeant says, well, which half? He says, well, he ain't saying much. It's like, well, find me the half that does.
Nice.
Because the Marines in that situation, they just want to understand what that synthetic knew, right? But we know, holy crap, that's Bishop. So it has multiple layers depending on how familiar we are with the films.
Okay, now you mentioned you think we're looking at some multiplayer here, which begs the question, what's it like to play as an alien? Can you play as an alien?
Yes, you can become a xenomorph in the competitive game. Now, you mentioned this is multiplayer. This is actually competitive multiplayer.
Okay.
And the reason why I make that distinction is because the whole game is multiplayer. There's an epic narrative campaign, which you can play alone, turn the lights off, you know, sit alone in front of that TV, turn the sound up, and get immersed. Or at any time, if you want your friends to join you, they can join with drop-in and drop-out co-op. And you can play split screen if you're on the same couch together, or you connect with friends around the world and play online.
You just said the magic word. So many people always want to know about split screen, and you're giving it to them. Nice.
Yeah, and it's not just a separate co-op mode, it's the game itself. So the whole game is multiplayer. Now, the competitive multiplayer is a lot of fun because you can have this asymmetrical gameplay where Colonial Marines face off against xenomorphs, and the xenomorphs play completely different. Now, we're looking from the perspective of a Colonial Marine, which from the first person lets you use the Colonial Marines' weapons like the pulse rifle, shotguns, smart guns, even things that Hudson referenced in the movies, like phased plasma rifles and sonic electronic ball breakers, which we had to invent, right?
You had to invent because maybe he was just making that up, but you made it happen.
Well, you know, we imagined it was Marine speak. Like, we imagined, okay, there's something that's probably sonic, electronic.
Maybe doesn't technically break balls, but there's something there. We can make it happen.
Here was our idea. What is that thing that would be SEBB, sonic? And so we imagined maybe it's a sonic, electronic, bouncing Betty.
Okay.
And the Marines twist the BB part into ball breaker because they're smart asses.
Yep.
And if you imagine a bouncing Betty, which is what we created, it launches to about waist height.
Pops up to a certain height.
About waist height, kicks out that sonic blast and fragmentation everywhere, and that's gonna break your balls, man. So it's a ball breaker. And but one of the cool things about the competitive multiplayer game is you can also play as a xenomorph, and you can go online and play as a xenomorph, and it's a totally different experience. You're playing from the third-person perspective.
Okay.
You can climb on ceilings, on walls, blend into the environment, and you need to because you have to get up close to get them. The Marines have awesome weapons from long range. But up close, a xenomorph can just tear them apart.
So deadly.
So it's a lot of fun. And they have a sixth sense. They can see everything. They can sense all of the other xenomorphs. They know where the Colonial Marines are. Even if they're through walls or on the other side of the facility, they can sense where they are. And we know this from the films, right? Remember when the Colonial Marines had welded themselves in? They're all holed up, and they think, we just need to sit here and survive. And somehow the xenomorphs knew where they were, and they went straight for them, and they got them.
Now, what we see on screen now is that the Marines sort of have a sixth sense of their own with that tracker.
Yes, they have tools. They use technology to get over the limits of human eyesight. So they have things like infrared eyepieces. They've got the motion tracker. They've got cameras, so they have the ability to kind of understand the situational awareness of other Marines. That motion tracker is awesome.
And recently, you talked about the planned Wii U release for Aliens Colonial Marines and how that is your motion tracker. And if that isn't like what that thing is tailor-made for, I don't know what it is.
When we first got briefed by Nintendo over a year ago about their bet for their new platform, we were really excited and made a big bet with Aliens Colonial Marines. Now, of course, the game is amazing on Xbox 360. It's amazing on the PlayStation 3. And, of course, we have an incredible Windows PC version. The Wii U is special because it has a screen built into the controller. So when the Wii U version comes out, you'll be able to use it to track them, use the motion tracker. It's got an accelerometer in there, so even though your screen's here, you can actually physically use it like a motion tracker, and it'll scan left, right, wherever you're aiming it, and it's a real motion tracker, and the sound comes from the controller.
Nice.
It's pretty rad. And there's other things, too, we can do with that. Do you remember when Hudson used the map? When he was looking for the civilians, right? He's tracking the civilians, like,
and they're looking at it, and Ripley's like, "What's this over here?"
Yeah.
He's like, "I don't even know what she's looking at," but she does.
But we used that map as art direction, and we have the map on the screen. So if you want to have, you can have the motion tracker, you can do a map view, and you can pan it around and be just like Hudson, scanning the facility for civvies or whatever. And there's also some other features. The Marines all have cameras on their shoulders. We remember what the view was from the from Gorman's view on the APC, where you can see like the life and health. So there's some other status things that we're playing with for the Wii U.
Cool.
Of course, it's awesome if you're playing the game and the wife comes home and she wants to watch Desperate Housewives or something. You can just keep playing on that screen and just keep going. You don't have to stop playing.
You can stream
you
Colonial
can play
Marines
the whole
there.
game on the screen, just as almost like a handheld experience.
No kidding.
Yeah.
All right. We've got a bunch of questions because people are obviously big Aliens fans.
Hit me.
M1 Garand wants to know if players are going to have to be, careful of the Xenomorph's acid blood. We've seen
Yes.
some up-close firing and some green blood spray. Is that going to be hazardous?
Okay, yes, it is very hazardous. Now, in a lot of the by the way, we're just scratching the surface. We've let you see what it looks like, and we're giving you some hints of things, but there's so many. I can't wait till the game's out. Let me just put it that way.
You're clearly bursting with things to say.
But
about
when we
it,
demo the game, we don't want to have our demonstrations interrupted by guys dying and getting their faces melted off by acid. So we've really kind of nerfed that a bit for the purposes of demonstration. But acid plays a huge role in the game. We've got some really awesome shader effects and material effects when the acid's hitting the environment and burning into it a bit. We've got some cool simulation. One of the things about acid, it's about pH balance, and the xenomorph blood is so extremely acidic that it's very corrosive, instantaneously corrosive. But if you counteract an acid with a base, like let's say regular bleach,
okay,
then the pH level will come down. The reaction will come, and now
it'll
won't be as
neutralize
corrosive.
it.
So imagine if you're trying to solve this problem and you're you can get maybe an aerosol can with bleach in it. Bleach, you can feel it, but it's not going to melt through your skin. And if you have bleach mixed in with a highly corrosive acid, then it becomes a very non-corrosive acid that might just feel tingly like bleach, and it won't burn. So now you have gameplay. Imagine very quickly to react, you have to apply the base neutralizer in order to survive the attack.
That seems like you guys are really having a great time extrapolating what this Marine task force might do. As you said, they're
adapt
dedicated
to the situation.
They've got some data to pull from.
Yeah.
They know a little bit more.
Yeah,
they're not just going in blind.
And it's been a lot of fun to immerse ourselves. Now, granted, there's a lot of things that we're already finished with, but we still have a lot of work to do. So as we finish the game, we'll see how all these ideas manifest themselves, but we're very excited. We've been so happy to spend time in this fiction.
Okay, we've got just a couple more questions before we close down. Forget who it was. Legion of the Moon wants to know, we talked about the Wii U tablet screen for the Marines.
Yeah.
What about the aliens?
Yeah, there's some cool stuff there too. Now in multiplayer, it's when you're playing the competitive multiplayer game, your priority is about the situation at hand. You're not going to be messing around with sub-screens down here. So we found that the most effective use of that extra screen is to kind of give me another way to, when you're playing a competitive game and you want to know what the status is, and you bring up that sub-screen that shows you the score, for example, or who's alive and who's dead. But to do that, you have to actually interrupt your play. So we're finding that we're actually using that screen the most just to look at the status of the game, because now I can just glance down and I don't have to stop my action. Because when we're in a competitive game, you do not want to slow down and pause and interrupt what's going on, because you're in the shit. And,
and all the information you can get is helpful. And that's an interesting point, that it is convenient to know that. I think a lot of people think Wii U tablet, it's just going to be a menu, or it's just going to be a map, but you don't really know the utility of what that adds to the gameplay experience until you're seeing it there and actively referencing it in a way that you haven't before.
And there are a lot of applications for it, especially in this brand. And we let you choose what you currently have as your active thing. There's a series of tabs, and you just, if you want to leave it on motion tracking, or whatever load out, whatever your interest is. But I'm finding that when we play competitive, having that status screen just up all the time is the best use for that screen.
Oh, Randy, we could talk all day about Aliens Colonial Marines, but let's just tell folks when it's coming out and what platforms.
The game comes on February 12th, international and North America. So worldwide launch on February 12th.
February 12th next year on.
And it's coming on Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, Windows PC, and the Nintendo Wii U.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Randy.
A pleasure.
Glad to have you back here again. And now, folks, it's a quick check-in for the news with Laura Parker and Johnny Chiodini.